Another new company has come out and purchased $600 million worth of Bitcoin, and it sent their stock price through the roof. Is 2024 the year of Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy copycats? In the past 2 months alone, we've seen 3 companies pop up and do this very exact strategy. We've seen DeFi Technologies, we've seen Semler Scientific, and we've seen Metaplanet announce a Bitcoin reserve strategies. I'm going to dive into the wild benefits to their stock price with my buddy Luke here. So, Luke, how are we doing today?
I am thrilled. I'm pumped to be here. I can't believe DeFi Technologies has bought a lazy 110 Bitcoin. I think that's worth around $6 million. So another company putting multi-millions of dollars worth of fiat into Bitcoin. So really excited to talk about it, man.
Yeah, 100%. And you brought it off the top, right? I mean, look what this did to their stock price. It absolutely sent it skyrocketing. The stock price nearly tripled just based off this announcement. And so it seems like DeFi Technologies, announcing this just saw absolutely great benefits. And I think the surprising part to me is that realistically is only 110 Bitcoin. Like for a company, that seems like a very, very small amount. But look what it did to its stock price. Absolutely pumped it, a 200% return. So, Luke, what do you think about this with just a small reserve for that relative to a large, like publicly traded company? Do you think we'll see more companies come onto this just based on what it does to its stock price alone?
Yeah, so I have been wrong for a long time. I actually thought that we would see more Michael Saylor copycats in 2020 and 2021. I really thought we would see more than what we did see, okay? But now that we are starting to see a flood of other companies do it this year, I think the floodgates are open, okay? We had Metaplanet come out a month ago, a little small Japanese company announcing that they were buying 100 Bitcoin. And we can see what has happened to Metaplanet's stock price. This is the chart on screen right now. It's up by 4x this year. 400% Metaplanet is up by, which is absolutely ridiculous because they've employed the Bitcoin strategy. So this was about a month ago. And Metaplanet actually came out yesterday. Did you see that, Brandon? And announced they bought more Bitcoin?
Yeah, and it just shot it up again. And I think like companies are just seeing the absolute benefit of what is going on here. Like you said, right? I mean, what we got Metaplanet up 400%, Semler Scientific up 70%, DeFi Technologies up 200% by just announcing 110 Bitcoin purchase. So all of this to be said, is just reserving, putting some of your publicly traded companies reserve into Bitcoin is just going to shoot up the stock price, which is going to help not only the investors of the company, it's going to help the employees of the company, and it's going to help the company as a whole just by seeing more money dumped into that company. So more and more companies are going to employ this reserve strategy, in my opinion. And, we've seen the profit, let alone here, right? I mean, you highlighted it great in this tweet where MicroStrategy's profit has turned out to be $7.36 billion just since they've employed this reserve strategy. As long as they could just hold, right? I mean, it sounds easier than it is, right? I mean, they've got to ride the volatility. They've got to ride a lot of the media critiques maybe initially, but you cannot deny the results here as to what is going on. And the biggest thing to me is seeing the stock price rise up. And I think that we're going to see more and more people, more and more companies come on to a Bitcoin standard. So, Luke, with all that being said, where do you see any negatives when all this is coming on, or is it only positives?
That's actually such a good question. It's actually kind of stumped me a little bit. I haven't really thought about how we could see negatives from public companies. I suppose one potential negative facing a public company is if they take on debt to buy Bitcoin. So what's interesting is if a company does take on debt and they're not profitable and the price of Bitcoin stays flat or goes down over a multi-year period, that could pose a small risk to the company because they couldn't actually service their debt. But again, I think this entire scenario is very unlikely because all of the companies adopting Bitcoin are profitable companies. Like Semler Scientific, for example, they're making about $20 million of profit every single year. So every year they're making about $60 to $70 million of revenue, and they're about $20 million in profit every single year. So that's massive. And I think the interesting part about Metaplanet, and the reason why I brought up that hypothetical scenario surrounding debt and the potential flaws of that, is Metaplanet has announced that they are going to be tapping the public debt market to accumulate even more Bitcoin, which is really, really interesting. This is literally a Michael Saylor copycat, because they're not only buying Bitcoin with their cash, but they're also tapping the debt markets, which is really, really big.
Yeah, 100%. And they're utilizing their own debt. So they're utilizing traditional finance tools to go into the new financial market, which is Bitcoin, right? I mean, and you alluded to it, right? I mean, Metaplanet up 400% simply by just implementing this strategy. I think it's a no-brainer, and more companies are going to come in on this. I mean, like, why wouldn't you do this when you see this stock price shoot up by 400%? And it's just a $6 million Bitcoin buy announcement. I know that sounds big for the traditional investor, but at the end of the day, for a company, that's profitable, $6 million is not a huge reserve asset, or not a huge reserve amount. And in all that being said, right, I mean, they most likely do not need this money right away, right? It's more of a savings technology. We implement it at a personal level where Bitcoin is then the best savings technology. So implementing that at a company-wide level just seems like a no-brainer. And we're seeing more and more companies do this. And, we saw DeFi technologies, which you alluded to earlier here, where, their stock price has tripled since this announcement. Tripled, right? And it's only 110 Bitcoin buys. So I'm looking for more and more Bitcoin, more and more companies to hold Bitcoin on their global reserve asset balance sheet, and for more companies to adopt this Bitcoin standard. And I think it's just a matter of time, right? We talked about it in the last live stream, Luke. Me and you were talking about how hedge funds are short Bitcoin, but institutions are long Bitcoin, right? So this is just highlighting how the institutions are long Bitcoin. They're going to keep it on their balance sheet. And with all that being said, it's just a matter of time until we see that takeoff.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That chart you just had up of DeFi technologies, I think it's an interesting one, because you can see that the price of DeFi technologies was actually kind of trending higher before we saw the Bitcoin announcement, which is interesting, because the other companies, Semler Scientific and Metaplanet, their stock prices look a little bit different, because they were actually trending down before they announced the Bitcoin strategy. And the Bitcoin strategy was kind of a little bit like a last hurrah, or it was a little bit like a pray to God, so to say. Their stock price had been going down for so many years that they needed to do something really innovative, and they had to really think about things a lot, and to really kind of turn things around for them. So I think that's also something very interesting to take note of, because MicroStrategy also, they weren't really benefiting before they adopted Bitcoin. Okay, remember their stock price had, it largely traded sideways for 20 years after that .com crash. Okay, and it underperformed the debasement of the monetary expansion between 2002 and 2020. So I'm seeing a little bit of a trend there that, it's actually the companies whose stock price is not performing well and, losing value, especially when you consider the debasement of fiat. They're the ones who are adopting Bitcoin, and they're adopting it in a big way, showing that they actually have done the work and they actually understand Bitcoin. So I don't know, maybe that's a trend. Maybe it's the companies who aren't at the top of their game, who might actually have the time or have the reason to go and look for a solution because they actually have a problem. I thought that was interesting when you showed that chart.
100%, and I agree with you there, because look at El Salvador. It's a perfect example, right? I mean, what did El Salvador have to lose with adopting a Bitcoin standard? To be honest, not much, right? Because they were already on a fiat dollar standard, and so it was almost like a last ditch effort. Granted, Bukele's done a lot of great things. That's a conversation for another time. But what it's done is it's brought in a lot of eyeballs to El Salvador as a country. and it's brought in a lot of positive benefits. And same thing with holding it on an institutional balance sheet, right? I never heard of DeFi Technologies or Similar Scientific or MetaPlanet before this. I'm sure they're great companies, but at the end of the day, it brought in a lot of marketing material, brought in a lot of people bringing in money into their stocks and everything like that. And we've seen it benefit in the short term, right? I mean, not only holding it on their balance sheet is going to help out the company for the long term, but in the short term, it's bringing a lot of marketing to that company and bringing in a lot more people onto what they are doing. And at the end of the day, a lot of these companies are profitable too. And so that just, serves for the benefit of the long run of these three companies that we've been naming as to why, this is something that we can see going forward, where we're going to see a lot more copycats coming through, right? I mean, we're recording this on June 11th, right? So we're about halfway through the year. We've already seen three companies, publicly traded companies, come and announce this. Who knows how many private companies are doing this and just haven't announced it? And it's different, right? I mean, it's companies that are coming in and doing this, and they're not necessarily mining companies saying that they're going to hodl whatever they mine. It's companies going out and utilizing Bitcoin as a reserve asset. So I think it's just here. It's here to stay. This strategy is going to keep being implemented, and we're just getting started, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I think we're going to see more. I think the fact that we're in a bull market as well is a massive thing. When price is trending up, everybody wants to get a piece of Bitcoin. I don't know if people forgot, but in 2020 and 2021, just after Bukele announced his Bitcoin strategy, all of these other Latin American prime ministers and politicians, they were all adopting laser eyes. I can remember because I did a video on it. You had politicians in Brazil, Paraguay, Colombia, Mexico. They were all adopting laser eyes on their profile picture because they could see that with the price trending up, being pro Bitcoin is good for you, good for your country, good for your popularity, good for your balance sheet. Even when the price of Bitcoin is trending down, if you can actually zoom out and have a look at your monetary value on a 4-year time frame, it's also good for you. Even if the price of Bitcoin is going down in the short term, adopting Bitcoin and being pro Bitcoin is good for you. I saw a video today get put out by, I think it was Rhino Bitcoin on Twitter, where they showed that the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, he was making fun of his opposition minister, Pierre, last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, for being pro Bitcoin. But Rhino Bitcoin showed the receipts and they said, hey, look, since this video of Justin Trudeau bashing Pierre for being pro Bitcoin and calling out the Canadian government's money printing, Bitcoin's actually up 250%. So I think that more are coming. We're in a bull market right now. And I think that this year is really going to be a very, very, very interesting year with public companies rushing to get into the Bitcoin space.
100%. And it's funny you mentioned that because I recall that as well. And, the opposition at that time, when they were talking about Pierre Poilievre, they were really ripping on him because they were basically saying, like, what do you know about money, right? I mean, they were looking at the Bitcoin price in the short term. And I believe they saw what he was saying, Bitcoin maybe was at 30,000 at that time, and it saw it fall to about 15. So that was just kind of unfortunate timing for Pierre. But, who's coming out on top now, right? We're seeing the Canadian dollar fall and we're seeing Bitcoin rise to the top. So I think more and more people are going to continue to do that. And, not only on an institutional level, but I think, we should start implementing that strategy, hey, on a personal level, right? I mean, I think the best aspect of Bitcoin and what you can do for yourself is utilizing it as savings technology. And what better way to do that than, in a cold storage device, right? I mean, I've got a foundation device myself. I've got one sitting here right here. I can't wait to store some sats on it and make sure to utilize that and store that. And you can use promo code Green Candle on that to get $10 off yours. Even if you're afraid to do that, they have a great concierge service and a great app for you there as well. You can store your seed phrase on a titanium steel or titanium punch plate offered by Stamp Seed. I think they're the best in the game. They've been challenging me to break them, so I've been trying to smash them. I did a deadlift on them. I've been doing everything. I had an NFL kicker kick it. I've been doing it all, trying to break this thing. I can't figure out how to do it. So I think it's the best way to store your seed phrase. And not only with that, you can use promo code Green Candle and get 15% off with that. And lastly, to help get a lot of these topics together, Bitcoin trading cards. They've got an absolutely cool and unique way that I've never seen outside of here to help orange pill your friends and family and teach them about very cool topics and very interesting topics in Bitcoin. With promo code Green Candle, you can utilize that to get 10% off of all Bitcoin trading cards. They've got cool trading cards. I got them. Some of them sitting on me right here. I've got the Bitcoin Standard, Economics, talking about FOMO, and all these other cards that you can come. And the artwork allows for great conversation and for you to orange pill your friends and family. So with all that being said, Luke, what you got for me, man?
Get your coins off exchanges. You know what I actually saw? I saw a really, really, really interesting tweet. I think it was put out there by Hodler literally an hour ago. And the tweet said, you go to an exchange and you deposit fiat on the Bitcoin exchange. You still don't own Bitcoin yet. And then he says, step 2, you buy Bitcoin on the exchange. You still don't own Bitcoin yet. Step 3, the exchange shows that you have Bitcoin in your wallet, or you have Bitcoin in your balance, and the exchange is showing you that you have Bitcoin. But then Hodler had brackets, you still don't own Bitcoin yet. And there you go. You found the tweet. I was trying my best to memorize it because I saw this about an hour ago. But you can see it very clearly. You don't own Bitcoin until you get to step number 4 on Hodler list. Okay, there's actually 5 steps. I forgot one. Log into exchange. You don't own Bitcoin yet. But step number 5 at the very end, you don't own your Bitcoin until you withdraw the Bitcoin off the exchange. Okay, guys, get yourself a hardware wallet, preferably a Bitcoin only hardware wallet. I think the Bitcoin only hardware wallets are the safest. Why not check out the Foundation Bitcoin only hardware wallet? They got a big sexy screen. They got sexy QR codes, easy to use, and you can get what, a 5% discount? Is that right, Brandon? If you use promo code Green Candle,
you could get $10 off with promo code Green Candle for all your purchases there. And then, yeah, why not store it in a titanium stamp seed punch plate? They've even got 12 and 24 words. So whatever you want to use, Foundation gives you the option for both. And, then you can orange pill your friends and family there with some Bitcoin trading cards as well. I know, Luke, you've had a video where you've gotten your hands on some of those as well, too, right?
Damn straight. You should hold them right up to the camera so that people can check them out. But Julian interviewed me in, where was this? This would have been in Madeira. And he got me to open a packet of these puppies live on a little street interview. As you can see, they've got some pretty cool artwork on them. Whoa, hang on. I've actually got some here myself. Producer Pam come and brought these around. So they're the BTC trading cards. You get a big pack of them. Julian gave me this pack in Madeira. I honestly forgot I had them. But there you have it. I mean, you got all sorts of different cards. I think when you're trying to orange pill people, sometimes, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that, Bitcoin's digital. But I think having physical things to orange pill people with is helpful. I think it certainly helps out. So get your hands on some BTC trading cards, guys.
Yeah, and then you can use promo code Green Candle, as we've been shouting out, to help you save some sats. And then you could use those sats and store them, or save those sats and store it in cold storage. All to say, Luke, thanks so much for joining me. And we'll be back again for more live streams. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Smash that like button. And yeah, we'll see you guys all in the next one.
See you guys.